So the next topic is grid interconnection issues of various DC systems. So the grid interconnection issues of various DC systems, the main technical barriers which can be limit the large scale DC integration are related to. These are the barriers: the quality of power, protection, synchronization, islanding, voltage regulation. These points already we discussed in previously. The what is the quality of power and the protection, what type of protection is required, synchronization. For synchronization, what you have to take, what is the different codes, and for the 4 different codes, what is synchronization time and islanding and voltage regulation. Now we move with some another various points. Grid interconnection issues of various DC systems are voltage regulations at PCC, point of common coupling. What is a voltage regulation? Control interaction among the DCs, between the DCs, how to control, and what is interaction of, if you have a 4 type of DCs in your distribution side, how to interact, and damping requirement and intentional islanding. So let's move to the first one is voltage regulation at PCC. The voltage regulations at point of common coupling. Most utilities perform DC units to operate close to the unity power factor, don't allow to actively regulate the voltage at PCC. So already IEEE 1547 they suggested that the given thing is the DERs are not supposed to regulate the voltage at PCC. Here the most utility prefer the DC units to operate close to the unity power factor. Close to unity power factor means the reactive power is minimized or 0. So we are trying to maintain power factor is 1, not don't allow the actively regulate the voltage at PCC. However, it can be seen that the DC unit operated at power factor control mode causes a large voltage fluctuations in the in the system. So the DC unit have a separate power factor control mode. So because of that, we will get a large voltage fluctuations in the system. But at PCC, we are expecting, the utility is expecting, yes, it's supposed to maintain a unity power factor. That means we are not permitting the DCs to regulate the voltage at the PCC point. The integration of large number of DC units into the distribution network is not possible to using only the basic power control method, power factor control method. So when you are integrating the large number of DCs, more number of DCs in a distribution network side, so the basic power factor control method is not sufficient, as voltage regulation is necessary for the local reliability and stability. It is important that distribution network operators maintain the flexibility to operate DC units at both the power factor and voltage control modes. So here they came with that one. What is that? So the distribution network operators maintain the flexibility to operate the DCs in both the conditions. One is frequency mode and voltage control mode. So the DCs must operate in a 2 condition, not only basic power factor control mode, either both voltage control mode and power factor control mode. So the voltage regulation on a radial distribution system is normally maintained using load tap changing transformers at a substation, or line voltage regulators or switching capacitors on a feeders. So generally to regulate for the radial distribution side, to regulate the voltage, what we used to do, either we are using the load tap change transformers, or for the feeders we are using switching capacitors. If DC units are allowed to regulate the voltage, coordinate voltage control between DCs and the load tap changes could be established, which would be interesting to approach the facilitating the DC integration. So if the DCs are allowed to regulate the voltage, if you if you allow the DC to regulate the voltage, that means we are using a voltage control mode also. For that, what I have to do? We have to coordinate between already what we available in a distribution network, load tap changing transformer. The DC must be coordinated with load tap change transformer, and DC must coordinate the voltage control. So the penetration level of DC is generally the penetration level DC penetration equal to the total DC power by the total load. How much is there? The the ratio of total DC power and what is the available load, that is giving a DC penetration. If suppose if you have a P load is 100 kilowatt, if you are DC, why? Because the load is not depend on only on DC, we are getting from the grid side also. If DC, suppose the DC rating is 50 kilowatt, the load is 100 kilowatt, then the penetration level is how much? 50%. So this is 50% DC penetration. If depends on DC penetration, the voltage regulation also vary. Just we will see for the different DC penetrations, what is the how the our voltage waveforms will vary for the lagging load and leading load. So for that one, I took a 15 bus distribution test system. This is the 15 bus distribution test system. So here we have a utility grid. From utility grid to we have a 15 buses. A 10th bus we connected a DC. For 10th bus we connected a DC. For every bus we have a this is the primary bus. The remaining buses, every bus have a loads. This indicates the loads. Okay. So as the 10th bus we connected a DC. So if the nodal voltage of 15 bus distribution system for a different DC penetration levels for the leading power factor. For the leading power factor condition, we are taking a different DC penetrations, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%. Then what is the nodal voltages? See here. Here this is the acceptable range. This one is acceptable range. This is the acceptable range. So if without DC, the grid, the buses are not connected with any DC, then this is the voltage curve or voltage levels of different buses. Okay, it's almost near to 1 per unit. If it is 20% of DC penetration, if you are injecting or you are install the DC 20% of DC, 20% of DC means the DC power by the load, 20% of penetration you did. For that one, this is the waveform. 40%, this is the waveform. 60% of penetration, you are getting a it's the range. The voltage range is exceeding when you are connecting the 60% of load. That means it's the total system is a certain point, it's going to the disturbance mode or instability mode. For 80% of DC, see this, it's at this point to it's up to this point is it exceeds the limit, exceeds the voltage limit. So if it is given the 100% of DC, that means for total load you are connecting with your DC, then at this point to this range, this total range is going out of acceptable voltage level. Okay. So according this study, we can go for up to 40% or 50% of DC penetration. If you go for 50% or 40% of DC penetration, then it will be the voltage profile of the different buses within the range. Within a range. If it exceeds the 60%, these three cases, the voltage profile is exceeding the range. Okay, this is for leading power factor. If you go for the lagging power factor, for lagging power factor also. This is the limit. This is the limit. 0.95 is the limit. So here also you can see the different without DC. This is the profile. It's okay, acceptable. Up to what is this? Up to 40% of DC, it's fine. This comes in up to 40%. They are in within a range of voltage. Above the 60% to 100%, they are going out of the range. So this is the study of the 15 bus distribution system when you changing the different penetrations of the DC levels. Okay. So here also the acceptability up to maybe up to 50% or below, less than 50%. So that is a voltage regulation at PCC. So we can give up to 50% of DC to the system. It depends on different distribution systems. For if you take a 30 bus system or any practical system, depends on your distribution system, it may vary. Up to 40% is acceptable. There is no issue with that. So going to the second point is control interactions. Control interactions among the DCs. If you have a 2-3 DCs are at a single point, further to the massive development of converter interfacing DERs in a distribution system generates additional dynamic interactions with the utility system. The parallel operation of DC units and their controls in the same or nearby distribution network in a relatively smaller geographic area can have a negative interaction, giving rise to the control mode oscillations. So what happened? The parallel operation of DCs. Already we discussed the parallel operation of DCs. Parallel operation of DCs. Their controllers in the same or nearly distribution network. Their controllers are same for the two DC units or 3 DC units. If you have a same controller in a particular distribution network and relatively smaller in a geographical area, in a particular area, it have a negative interactions given rise to the control mode oscillations. Because of that, if you have a same same controller for the 4 DCs who are located in a smaller area, it will give a negative interactions. Okay. That means it's supposed to the DC1, the DC2 which how much of power DC1 can contribute, how much power the DC2 can contribute in a peak time, which DC will act and which DC will not act. All the things which depends on this. Another issue that complicates the problem is presence of DC units near to the load, induction motor or variable speed drives, and the coupling of loads dynamics with a power electronic controls. So another issue is complicates the problem in a presence of DC units near to the load, especially induction motor loads or variable speed drives and the coupling of load dynamics with power electronic controllers. Although interaction among the power system controls for the higher voltage transmission system have been widely investigated, as very little attention has been paid to analyze interaction among the multiple DC controls. So they paid little attention. So it is important to investigate the issues, as advised interaction among the several controllers could be affect the dynamic operation of entire system. So is supposed to go with a different controllers for the different DCs, or that operation also affects the dynamic operation of whole entire system. That whole system is the DC with a grid also. It emphasizes that the stability properties and interconnection of DERs depend on an interface design. Interfacing converters has sophisticated feedback control loop that may interact with a transient of electrical power system. So they came with what is that? So emphasize the stability properties of interconnection of DERs depend on interfacing device and converters. The converters having a sophisticated feedback control loops, supposed to have a sophisticated feedback control loops that may interact with a transient of the electric power system. In practice, multiple DC units located close together and model uncertainties due to their intermediate nature leads to the significant difficulty in control design. So we have to go for with a proper control design for uh, the parallel operation of DCs. We can't go for a single control operation for all, or you can go for different converters also. For geographical dispersed distribution system is often desirable to have some form of decentralized in its control structure. So they came with a uh, decentralization of control structure for different DCs. You have to go for a different control structures for the different DCs. With emphasize the being robustness of system performance, there is a need to analyze and design controllers in a integrating manner, taking into consideration of effects of interconnection among the various substations in a system to the negative interaction of their controllers. To avoid this negative interaction of the controllers, negative interaction of DCs, negative acting of the DCs, around 4 or 5 DCs is connected to the our local network, you better to go for a better decentralization of controlling. So that is the second point, the control interaction among the DCs. We is supposed to don't go with a single control for the 4 or 5 DCs. For all DCs, you don't go for a one control scheme or one control action. Better to go for a decentralized controller. Damping requirements. So the loads play a very important role in behavior power distribution systems. We know that for the distribution side, the load will vary time to time. So it will play a very important role. So as the loads of the PDs increase, the small signal instability and poor damping may emerge and limiting factors the system to planning operation. So because of that load variation, because of the load variations or power distribution. So what happen? It will give a small signal instability and poor damping also. Due to that proximity of generation to the low inertia loads, small variation in the system load can exceed exact voltage oscillations. Exist voltage oscillation due to the control interaction and reactive power mismatch, which must be damped to maintain the system security and stable operation. So because of the generation to the low inertial loads and small variation of system loads or voltage oscillations, reactive power mismatches for the low inertial loads and voltage oscillations and reactive power mismatches. For that one, you must give some damping to maintain this all system secure and get a stable operation. For variation of these loads and low inertia load and to avoid voltage fluctuations and reactive power mismatch, we supposed to come with a damping requirements. What is things? The poor damping may be a limiting factor for a distribution network operation due to the increasing use of low inertia motor loads for air conditioning, heat pumping and refrigerator and ventilations. So poor damping, this is the one of the limiting factor for the distribution network. Poor damping because of what? So because of that, due to that increasing use of low inertia motors, where we are using low inertia motors in air conditioning and heating pumps and refrigerators and ventilators, we are using low inertia motors, low inertia motor loads. So because of that, it's giving a poor damping. That is one of the limiting factor for the distribution network. For that one, a grid code should be specify the amount of minimum damping required for the stable system operation. So because of low inertia loads, we have a fluctuating voltages and we have a reactive power changes. And what are the different low inertia loads are generally in distribution side air conditioning, because of air conditioners and air conditioning ACs and heat pumping and refrigerators, ventilations. Because of the low inertia loads, it's the distribution system is facing a poor damping limitations, poor damping conditions. For to avoid that one, the grid code must supposed to give a so minimum damping required. How much damping requirement is allowed for the distribution side is supposed to give by the grid code. As like DC injection, they given a less than 0.5% or over voltage, under voltage, over frequency, higher frequency. How the grid code they specified a certain range. For this one also they supposed to give a certain range. Still they didn't give the minimum range of damping. The last one is intentional islanding. According to the current utility practice, an intentional islanding operation of DC is not allowed due to the following reasons. Already I told you the islanding, the sudden islanding of DC is not allowed because it affects, it may put a risk the public security. It will give a it put a risk on public security and endanger to the maintain workers who are working in power workers, or for them also it's danger, and it's danger to the equipment. Suddenly it's going the DC going to the islanding condition, it affects to the public security and maintenance workers. It may cause to the unregulated voltages frequency of the electrical power distributed power generation system, which may cause a damage of equipment. Because of sudden islanding of DC, because of the sudden islanding of the DC, suddenly the grid is disconnected to the DC. What will happen? It damages the equipment. The voltage fluctuations or frequency fluctuations will be there. And it may cause to the malfunction of production delays. All these points we discussed in unit number 1. So suppose to the production delay, it's supposed to operate in their operating range, but because of sudden islanding condition, so in intentional islanding or sudden islanding condition, it may operate in a different way. Once the utility has recovered, it may cause an asynchronous problem between the distribution power generation system and utility. Because of sudden disconnection of DC, sudden islanding of DC, once it's again connected to the utility also, it may not give a synchronization between the DC and utility also. So asynchronization problem will come because of this sudden islanding condition. And intentional islanding offers many potential benefits for improving the reliability, service continuity, and relieving overload problems of the system. So till now what we discussed sudden islanding conditions. For this intentional islanding means we are supposed to disconnect the DC within a range 2 seconds or 5 seconds. That is we will detect the islanding condition and we will disconnect that one. So for that, what are the benefits is improving the reliability. Yes, if suddenly the DC or the grid is the DC is disconnected from the grid, it will affect the loads. So there is reliability is less. If if you go to the intentional side, then the reliability is improves. The service continuity will be there. So we will sectionize the loads. So if suppose we have a 100 or 200 kilowatt load is there, but you have a DC of 50% of penetration, 100 kilowatt is there, remaining 100 kilowatt is depending on a grid. This is the grid. The grid can give, this is some load. If you take a load, the load range is some 200 kilowatt. You have a DC at the distribution side, the DC is having capacity around some 100 kilowatt. So for example, it's if you go to the island condition means here you have a disconnection. Sudden island condition means always it affects the load side and equipments also. But if you go for intentional islanding, if you go for intentional islanding means we know the grid is disconnecting from our total distribution system. So what we will do, we can schedule the load, how much is available. For us is 100 kilowatt is available, so we can schedule, we can reduce the load, the new load to the 100 kilowatt. So how much power is available, that we can give. So service continuity we can give it, or you can either you can add one more DC, the capacity of 100 kilowatt. So already we know that the grid is about to disconnect. So the intentional islanding, we know that. So if for intentional islanding, either you can increase the power of DC, you can add another DC according to your load to give a service continuity, or you can improving the reliability. If it is grid is not connected, what is the reliability here? Here 100 is available, the load is 200, the reliability is 50%. If it is grid is disconnected, you have only one DC with a 200 kilowatt, you have a 50% of the reliability is less. If you know the intentional, then what we will do, we will add another DC, then we can give a 200 for 200 load, we can give a 200, so it's matching, that is a fine. If not, we can schedule the load to the 100 kilowatt and we are giving, so the reliability is improves and relieving the overload problem. So there is no issue of any overload problem also. So we know that the grid is disconnecting at this point, so we have a time, at that time we can schedule our load to the reduce to the 100 voltage, there is no point of over voltage problem. So these are the benefits for intentional islanding. If we don't know the sudden island condition is happened, then we have some severe problems like the reliability is less, or it damages the equipment, it damages the people who are working at load end, all the things. So however, the flow of level of fault current can vary strongly from normal network situation to the island operation. Existing anti-island or under voltage, over voltage and under frequency, over frequency protection setting may interfere with the island operation of DC. Either you can go, we can put this equipment, protection equipment, already we discussed under voltage, over voltage, UV, OV and UF and OF protection settings to detect the when islanding condition is happening, to go for a intentional islanding. Therefore, the safety requirements should be specified in a grid code. All countries are allowed DC to operate in a island mode in order to achieve a maximum utilization. So here also the grid code supposed to give a what is the range, what is the safety requirements for when when DC is sudden islanding condition is when happening the sudden islanding condition. For that one, the grid code supposed to give some guidelines. So these are the points for unit number 2, the different issues and what are the different voltage problems, voltage fluctuations, frequency fluctuations. In next lecture we will discuss the next topic. Thank you.